Hope you enjoyed the time-lapse video again, because last time I did Invader X, it was only a time-lapse video and I wasn't talking. Today we're going to make it a bit different and going to introduce some new products that you already seen. So based on that, we're going to, well, basically you already have loads of information about CORE REACTOR II VE, but in the Invader X, except for that power supply, we have LEVANTE X 360, which I paired up with the VENTO 120 addressable RGB PWM fans, and on the side I removed the original fans that come with the case and placed the VENTO R 120 addressable RGB PWM, which are reverse fans, and they do look different compared to the original ones that you can find inside the case. Now, the original one that is reversed right here, I left it as it is, because the box contains 3 PWM fans, reverse 3 PWM fans, and basically that's the fourth one, so I left it as it is. But comparing it to the last time, now we have some benchmarks, now we have some thermals and all the other details that you need to know, which are quite solid. Before we continue on the benchmarks and everything, I just want to introduce the VENTO R, which can be bought separately. As you can see, they come in a 3-pack, and the VENTO 120 addressable RGB. Now, the best way to see the difference between the reversed and the regular blade is to actually do a comparison. So they both have rifle bearing, addressable RGB, 4-pin PWM. The speed for the regular ones, so the regular blade, goes from 300 to 1850 RPMs plus minus 200, and the reversed ones go from 300 to 1600 plus minus 10%. Then we go with the airflow. Regular ones 50.27 CFM, while the reversed ones are 65.33. Maximum static pressure on the regular ones is 1.5 millimeters H2O, while on the reversed one is 1.65 millimeters H2O. Decibel range. Now, this is quite a huge difference. The regular blade are 29 decibel at maximum, and the reversed ones are 38.3 decibels at maximum. These are some sort of a comparison when we're talking about these two fans, and the one thing they share in common is the mean time before failure, which is 160,000 hours at room temperature 40 degrees. That's strange testing. So if you ran it in regular room temperature, they can last even longer. Can I make that conclusion? It should be, right? But regardless of that, we have quite interesting build and everything all together put here, and it comes down to basically an 850 power supply that can power up the MSI RTX 4080 Gaming X Trio, paired up with AMD Ryzen 9 7900 X3D. We have the LEVANTE X 360 cooling down the processor. We have the VENTO 120 addressable RGB reversed blades on the side and regular blades here on top. So yeah, quite interesting configuration. What I didn't mention in the time-lapse video, the prior one, you have a really cool bracket here that actually comes separated from the chassis. So you have the regular one where you can place the GPU horizontally, which has loads of space regardless of the position, and then you can add the second plate that comes in the accessory box with the Gen 4 riser and place it vertically, which doesn't sacrifice the thermals because it actually has quite loads of space when we're, I would say, about 5 to 6 centimeters from the fans to the tempered glass. And this is basically the segment where I have a little thing that I would like to mention. The PCI riser is too long, which means that PCI riser accumulates the cables here at the back between the GPU and the motherboard, and it's really touching the motherboard and the GPU. So in those terms, if they can, I would definitely suggest to make a bit shorter cable just so it doesn't touch the components. Nothing will happen, don't get me wrong, but until you fixate the GPU, it is pushing the GPU a bit towards the front, and that's it. So when you fixate it, it's quite all right. Now benchmarks, right? It's quite interesting, and well, we go with the CPU 92 degrees Celsius, and the clock speed is 4750 megahertz. Compared to last couple of AIOs that I tested in those scenarios with this CPU, the thermals were around 85 to 88, and the clock speed went up to 4850. The GPU is actually the same compared to those cases and those builds that are reviewed, 67 degrees. So this GPU actually, well, it doesn't benefit, but it stays the same regardless of the positions. So 67 is outstanding. And then we go to Cinebench. Cinebench starts at 89 degrees for the CPU, 87, 86, it continues to the 86, and then jumps for 88, 86, 85. So we kind of have results everywhere. And then when we go to the clock speeds, 4975, 4950, and then it rises up to 5000 to continue on the next five benchmarks, 4950, and then the last one is 50,125. This all results with the Cinebench scores as well. It starts really low at 26,174, and then it just boosts up depending on the clock speed and the thermals, but it does go even above 26,400. But some average, what I would say, is 26,280, which is outstanding as well. Okay, we do have AIOs that perform much better on this CPU and push the score up to 26,700, 600, 500, regardless of that. But this isn't below 26,000, and I'm still quite impressed with this. But even with this configuration, even with this combination of components, cooling possibilities, case, everything all together, it's great. It works nicely, and I mean, I have to admit, the case looks really nice in all this configuration and the design and everything, and actually quite small power supply shroud. I do have to admit that. Usually we get it fairly long or there's none, but here we have like, I would say 27 centimeters, 28 maybe. And then when you think about it, where are you going to hide the cables? So the next thing is that it has loads of space at the back. You have like 3 centimeters of space behind, and you have loads of Velcro ties to tie up the cables and to make it look nice. So all in all, it's a great combination, as I stated earlier, and it's cool to have reverse fans from XPG additionally and separately apart from the case. So for instance, if you go with their other cases that have a possibility to mount fans on the power supply shroud, you can go with these and add more ventilation to your GPU while still having that visual aspect looking great. That kind of wraps it up what I decided to talk about today. Well, when we take into consideration the first part of the video, which was a time lapse again, and it kind of gives you guys more insights on building the whole build and how it goes, and is it difficult, is there any obstacles. I actually really enjoy building in XPG INVADER X. There is only one complaint about the case, and it's not actually about design, it's not actually about component placement or anything similar to that. It's about Velcro ties. They are very, very, how can I say it? They aren't, first of all, they aren't that grippy. And secondly, they do kind of, when you try to pull them a bit tighter to hold the cables close to the back of the chassis, they tend to stretch. So if you have zip ties, use zip ties. If you have some other Velcro ties, use those, because these ones either won't hold, or if they hold, they will most likely stretch too much to be able to hold. Yeah, there's that. But that's the only, not downside, but just a negative thing about the chassis and everything else, because altogether perfect. So guys, the links for the products, including XPG INVADER X, XPG LEVANTE X 360, CORE II VE, VENTO R 120 PWM addressable RGB reverse blade, and VENTO regular ones, so VENTO 120 PWM addressable RGB triple packs are in the description. Check out those links. And finally, well, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, click the notification bell. See you very soon.